Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started for the afternoon to teach you guys Buddhist chanting. Welcome back to all of you guys. Welcome back. Welcome to those of you guys that joined us since we started class this morning. So I'm going to teach you guys Buddhist chanting to help you guys understand how to do Buddhist chanting and why we do it and all these kinds of things. So let me share that content with you guys to be able to help you understand the why behind Buddhist chanting before we actually learn the chanting itself. So the history of chanting is that where it comes from is that during the lifetime of the Buddha, he taught everything orally, that the technology to write things down didn't actually exist during the lifetime of the Buddha, that it was in China, but it wasn't in that region of the world that the Buddha was in. So everything he taught was oral. He just spoke. So like this morning, I spoke for, about 3 hours or so. His students would remember that, and then they would recite it by chanting it word for word for word. Every 2 weeks, they would recite that. So would you guys like to do that now? Recite everything that I just said? Of course, you can't do that, right? That's not the way that our mind functions nowadays. But that's the way that they would do it during the lifetime of the Buddha, is that they would recite his teachings word for word for word. But today we have books, we have audiobooks, videos, podcasts, things like this to be able to capture that stuff. So we don't use chanting as a way to commit the teachings to memory anymore. Instead, we use it to ease the mind into meditation and get more benefit out of the meditation itself. In this tradition of Buddhist teachings, we chant in what's called the Pali language. Pali is no longer a spoken language today, but it was used in order to capture the original teachings of the Buddha. In this particular tradition, which is called Theravada Buddhism, the word Theravada means the teachings of the elders. People consider this form of Buddhism the closest to the lifetime of the Buddha and what he actually taught during his lifetime. And in this tradition, which is found in Thailand, Myanmar, Cambodia, Laos, Sri Lanka, southern Vietnam, this is like the real focal point for this. This is where we chant in the Pali language. And in reality, this has been shared all throughout the entire world. You'll find Theravada temples in Germany or in America or in South America and different places you'll see Theravada temples. And they're all chanting in the Pali language. Where then there's other traditions of Buddhist teachings that spawn after the death of the Buddha. About 500 to 1,000 years after that, we have what's called Mahayana Buddhism. And they started changing the teachings of the Buddha. Even though the Buddha advised not to do this, people started changing his teachings. And this is what you'll find in China. The Mahayana tradition is found in China, and there's a lot of different branches within that. But then there's a third form, which is called Vajrayana Buddhism. You'll find this in Tibet, in the Russian Republic of Kalmykia, and places like this. In reality, all these traditions are spread all throughout the world. Those traditions of Buddhist teachings, Mahayana and Vajrayana, they do chanting as well, but they chant in their local language. So if you would like to learn chanting in the Mahayana tradition, you would need to first learn Chinese, and then you could learn the chanting. Or you need to first learn Vietnamese, and then you could learn the chanting. But in the Theravada tradition, which again means the teachings of the elders, we chant in this original language of the Pali language. So you could learn this here, and you could go to any temple anywhere in the world that is a Theravada tradition, and you could chant in the way that I'm sharing with you. There is different dialect from like Sri Lanka to Thailand. You'll hear a slightly different accent and dialect. So what I'm teaching you, and when I teach you chanting, it's going to be with a Thai dialect, because I grew up kind of hearing the Thai people chant. So that's the way that I chant. But nonetheless, you can chant these same chants with Sri Lankan people, with Cambodian people, with Myanmar people, with Lao people, or just anywhere. Even North America, there's temples that are chanting these exact same chants. So that's one of the beauties about chanting in the Pali language, is it's kind of like a unifying language that people will chant together in these settings. So I do this easing into meditation to help the mind get more benefit out of the meditation, and then I do it on the way out. And what people say that when they do the chanting on the way out, it gives them the comfort to get deeper into their meditation during the meditation itself, because sometimes the mind doesn't want to let go in meditation, and it doesn't want to get deeper because it's kind of holding on and it's scared to go too deep in meditation. So by having a chanting practice at the end of your meditation, it kind of gives you the freedom to feel comfortable to get deeper in your meditation, because you know you have something to bring you out of meditation on the backside of your meditation. So this is kind of the history of chanting and where it comes from. So it's important to understand that there isn't anything mystical or magical about chanting. It's not a rite, a ritual, or a ceremony or worship. It's not prayer or anything like that. In fact, I have a bunch of things here to share with you about the benefits of chanting. Because when you study the original words of the Buddha and you see him talking about meditation and how to actually meditate, you're going to see that he says, set up mindfulness in front of you before you start meditating. What he's talking about here is set up awareness of mind. This is really important, that you don't just plop down into meditation and start trying to meditate, because you're not going to get a lot of benefit that way. It might be 10, 15 minutes into your meditation session that your mind slowly starts gaining its stability, and now you actually get benefit. Whereas if you chant prior to meditation, you're getting some awareness of the mind and awareness of your breath, so that now for that period of time when you're chanting, you got this awareness of mind and awareness of breath. So right at the beginning of your meditation, you can start getting benefit right away. So the Buddha talks about setting up mindfulness in front of you. And chanting is one of the ways to do that. And that's the reason why I chant. So it develops this awareness of mind, concentration, and memory, because your mind is like a muscle. If you take your body to the gym and you exercise, when your friend says, hey, can you help me move that couch? You're like, yeah, sure. I got the muscles. I can do that, right? And the mind is the same way, that your meditation is essentially helping you to exercise the mind. And your chanting is that way too. It's helping to exercise your mind. So if you never use your mind to cultivate concentration and memory, then you're not going to be able to develop that as part of your journey to enlightenment. So chanting helps you to develop concentration and memory, because it's like exercising the mind. Because to learn these chants, you're going to need to exercise the mind in order to be able to memorize them and build the concentration to actually do it. So it's helpful from that reasons. And it helps you develop this awareness of the breath. It also slows down and relaxes and eases the mind into meditation, because oftentimes when there's craving, desire, attachment in the mind is like really fast. It's really rapid. Like if you ever notice in your day, your mind is just like bouncing all over the place. This is because of the craving, desire, attachment. The mind's like go, 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 go. But if you can use chanting to kind of slow the mind down, this will really help you in your day-to-day life. So not only is meditation doing that, but your chanting is doing that as well. Also, when I first started meditating, it was hard for me to see any kind of improvement because my mind was so cluttered and so polluted. But I had this motivation and enthusiasm with chanting that I could see audibly that my practice was improving, because every week, every 2 weeks, I could see that the chanting was improving. So it was kind of helpful from that standpoint, that it gave me this extra encouragement and motivation and enthusiasm to continue with my practice, because I had this audible indication that my practice was improving. So this might be something for you too, that, it might be hard for you to see that your mind's not getting quite as angry as it used to get. But when you're chanting, you can hear this audible indication of this consistent improvement in your chanting, and that can be encouraging and motivating for you. I also noticed that it helped me develop respect and gratitude for what I refer to as the elders and for Gautama Buddha himself. What I mean by the elders is that these chants, they didn't just poof, out of thin air. They were developed by somebody along the way, and they've been passed down for all these years. I suspect that the students created these either during the lifetime of the Buddha or shortly after he died. Because as you see in the chants, there's a lot of respect and gratitude and appreciation for the Buddha. There's this admiration almost for the Buddha in these chants. If you read the English translations, a Buddha wouldn't have created these. He wouldn't have created these and given them to his students and said, here, chant these things to me, because he would have eliminated his ego. So he wouldn't have created these chants himself. But I could easily see his students doing this, because if you learn from a teacher how to move from anger and sadness and frustration and all those other discontent feelings to this peaceful and joyful mental state that is enlightenment, and this teacher didn't want anything from you, they didn't expect anything from you, then you would have a lot of respect and gratitude for that person too. So I think that his students probably created these either during his life or after his death. And these elders that I'm speaking about, these are the people that have been passing down these teachings for countless generations, this long chain of people who we will never know their names, that I have a lot of respect and gratitude for them, because I know the state of mind that I'm currently experiencing, and the fact that these people passed something down that was meaningful and helpful for me, I have a lot of respect for them. And of course, I have a lot of respect for Gautama Buddha for having spent the time that he did to be able to share these teachings, to be able to get to this enlightened mental state. So whether you do chanting or not is up to you. This is the only thing I will ever teach you, that I'll share with you, that, hey, if you don't chant, you can still get to enlightenment. It's okay. You don't have to do chanting in order to get to enlightenment, but it'll surely help you. But you're still going to need to cultivate these qualities. You're still going to need to set up mindfulness in front of you before you meditate. You're going to still need to develop awareness of mind, concentration and memory, awareness of the breath. You're still going to need to slow down, relax, and ease the mind into meditation. You're still going to need to cultivate respect and gratitude for the people around you. These are things that you're going to need to cultivate. But whether you do that through chanting or not is up to you. This is the one thing that you wouldn't have to do in order to actually get to enlightenment. There's no place on the path to enlightenment where it's required for you to chant. During the lifetime of the Buddha, you had to chant. If you didn't chant, you had no way of committing the teachings to memory. And you can see this in his teachings where he talks about that. But nowadays, you don't actually have to chant in order to get to enlightenment. But I still do it because I find a lot of benefit in it. And these are the benefits that I find. And you might find those same benefits too. And if you do, continue to do it. And if for some reason you would like to set it aside and not do it, that's completely fine too. You'll still be able to get to enlightenment. But what I would encourage you to do is to practice it for a good period of time, maybe like 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks. Because when your mind first starts trying to do something, it usually doesn't want to do the work to figure out how to do that thing, and it will push it aside. It'll be like, no, I'm not going to do that thing, because the mind wants to stay complacent. And whenever you're making changes in your life, your mind typically doesn't like this. So when you first implement something new, you don't really have a clear assessment of whether that thing is really beneficial or not until you do it for like 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and then you can really see the impact that it's having in your life. And this goes with everything, right? That you would like to give it that good college try before you actually decide whether you're going to do it or not. So with these chants, I suggest you do it for several weeks before you make a decision of whether you're going to actually keep it in your practice or not. So I'm going to teach it to you to be able to help you to be able to learn it. And then whether you choose to practice it or not is up to you. You'll get a chance to practice it in our class, because each morning and each afternoon when we do meditation, we're going to be doing chanting before meditation and afterwards. So you'll get a chance to practice it during this week. And then lastly, what chanting is not, it's not anything mystical or magical. It isn't a prayer. It isn't worship. It isn't anything like that. It's these benefits that I'm talking about here. Sometimes people don't know the meaning to these words. And sometimes the least you know about something, the more magical it becomes over time, right? If people don't know the translations, then they might think like, oh, there's something mystical and magical about these words. It's going to instantly produce something for us. You can go to places where they'll say, hey, our temple figured out this secret chant, and we're the only ones that know this chant. And if you chant this, you're going to get an extra long life. Or if you chant this, you're going to get rich and wealthy. Or if you chant this, you're going to get your boyfriend back or your girlfriend back. Here, chant this chant. And you'll hear people that'll say these things. This is like superstition and auspicious things, mystical, magical things. This isn't actually true. And just like I teach you guys not to believe anything in the world, don't believe me either. Right? Don't believe me what I'm sharing here. Like if you go somewhere and they share with you that, hey, chant this chant, you're going to get an extra long life if you chant this chant. Okay, well now you'd like to independently verify that. Start looking around the temple. Do you see people that are 150, 200, 300 years old? If so, then this is true, right? This chant is actually true. But if you don't see people that are 150, 200, 300 years old, then you know that this isn't true. It's just a belief that people have. This is how you independently verify something. So if people say, oh, chant this chant, you're going to get rich if you chant this chant. Well, that means everyone at their temple should be rich and wealthy. Is that what you see? Not that rich and wealthiness leads to happiness necessarily, but you should be able to test these kinds of things. So when you hear people share these kinds of things, oftentimes they're just believing these things, and you can independently verify it. So chanting doesn't have anything mystical or magical. Remember, the original purpose of chanting for the Buddha was to help his students commit the teachings to memory, and that was it. There isn't anything mystical and magical. And you can see the English translations on these sheets, so you know what the words mean, so you don't think that there's anything mystical or magical going on here. So any questions on the benefits of chanting before I teach you guys how to do this? Remember, for those of you guys online, you guys can put those into Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom, or you can raise your hand electronically in Zoom and ask any questions that you like. Any questions here? Okay, let me just check online here, see if we have any questions. Okay, I'm not seeing any questions. All right, so what I'm going to do is move forward with teaching you guys the chants. There's 3 chants that I'm going to teach you guys, and the way that I'm going to teach it to you is I'm going to first do it myself, just so you can hear it and how it sounds. Then I'll do it a second time, and I'm going to give you some guidance. I'm going to show you where I'm actually breathing, kind of instructing you and showing you where I'm breathing, because it helps to know where to breathe in the chants. Then we're going to do it a third time where you guys will actually be included, and I'll be guiding you and doing it with you and showing you where to breathe. And then we'll do it a fourth time where it's all of us doing it, and I won't be guiding you or anything. We'll just be going through it. So I'll show you how this works. And these first 3, these chants that I teach you, they're the 3 most common chants that you will hear, that whenever you go to a particular event at a temple, they will typically do these 3 chants at the beginning. That's why I show you these 3 or teach you these 3, because they're very common and you'll see them a lot. So here's the first time through. The first time through, I'm just going to do it myself so that you guys can hear it. Okay, so here's how this one sounds. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Mahakeva Bhutang Mahakavanang Apivateyami Savakato Mahakavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipano Mahakavato Savaka Sangho Sanghang Namami. Okay, so that's the first chant, okay? So you saw at the end of each phrase how I did that little bow. Whether you choose to do that or not is up to you. If you're in a large group of a community, particularly here in Thailand, when they get to that point in the chanting, they will typically bow to the floor. And they're usually facing the front, where there's usually a statue of the Buddha or some image of the Buddha or something like that. And they're bowing out of respect to the Buddha, the teachings, and the community. That's why this one is the first one, because these are the first 3 things that you need in order to be able to get to enlightenment. We refer to it as the triple gem or the triple jewel. You need to have confidence in the Buddha. You need to have access to his teachings, and you need to be part of a community. And you may not have all of these things. You might not have confidence in the Buddha right now, and that's okay if that's where you're at. But ultimately, you're going to need to cultivate this confidence through examining his teachings and investigating them. So if you only had 1 of these things, or you only had 2 of these things, you actually wouldn't be able to get to enlightenment. So if I had confidence in the Buddha, but I didn't have access to his teachings and I wasn't part of a community, I wouldn't be able to get to enlightenment. Or if I just had access to his teachings and I didn't have confidence in him, or I wasn't part of a community, I wouldn't be able to get to enlightenment. Or if I'm just part of a community, but I didn't have confidence in the Buddha and I didn't have access to his teachings, I wouldn't be able to get to enlightenment. So you need access to all of these things. You need confidence in the Buddha, access to his teachings, and be part of a community, because you'll learn from a teacher as part of being in a community, but you're also going to learn from other members of the community. When we go out and about and we do things in the community and you see somebody being generous and polite and respectful, you're like, oh, I really like how they're doing that. I like how Matt had these cushions laid out for himself and somebody else came and sat at those cushions, and Matt just chose to get his own cushions rather than say, hey, those are my cushions, right? No, he just grabbed some cushions and sat down and made his seat. He's like, okay, if that person would like like to use those cushions? That's fine with me. I'll just get some new cushions, right? You might see those kinds of things among the community, and you'll learn these things. And you're like, hey, I would like to do some of those things, right? So you start learning the teachings from a teacher and from books and things like this, but you learn from other members of the community too, and see how they interact with people. So you need all three of these things in order to be able to get to enlightenment. If you were just off in a cave somewhere meditating, you wouldn't actually be able to get to enlightenment. You would need confidence in the Buddha, access to his teachings, and then be part of a community. And that's how you actually get to enlightenment. So that's why we refer to this as the triple gem or the triple jewel. So anytime you see three things in Buddhism, it's referring to these three things, is the Buddha, the teachings, and the community. Okay, so now I'm going to do it a second time. And what I'll do is I'm going to pause and I'm going to show you where the breath is so that you'll understand where the breath is. Okay, so at this point, I'll just do it and I'll teach you where the breath is. So here at the very beginning, I take a nice deep breath. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava. And then here I'm going to take a little breath. Bhutang Bhagavanang Apivateyami. And then as I'm bowing, I'm going to be taking a nice deep breath here. Okay, so I'm taking a nice deep breath as I'm bowing. Sawakato Bhagavata Dhammo. There's a little breath here. Namang Namasami. And then once again, as I'm bowing, I'm taking a nice deep breath. And now here, there's going to be two breaths. Supatipano Bhagavato. Little breath here. Sāvaka-saṅkho. Little breath here. Sanghang namami. And then as I'm bowing, I'm taking a nice deep breath that leads into the next chant. Okay, but we'll get to that in a moment. All right? So would you guys like to try this one? Okay, so we're going to do it this third time where we're doing it together. And those of you guys online, you can do it as well. So that we're all chant together, and I'll be guiding you on the breath as we're going through on this third time. Okay, and then we'll do it a fourth time where I won't guide you on the breath. Okay, so here you'd like to take a nice deep breath. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava. Little breath. Bhutang Bhagavanang Apivateyami. Nice deep breath here. Sawakato Bhagavata Dhammo. Little breath. Dhammang Namasami. Nice deep breath here. Supatipano Bhagavato. Little breath. Sāvaka-saṅkho. Little breath. Sanghang namami. Nice deep breath. Okay. So whether you breathe in these places or not is totally up to you. I'm just giving you guidance, right? It's your practice. Everything I'm always teaching you, it's your practice. You decide for yourself what you would like to do in life. It's your decisions and it's your results that you experience. Your life, your decisions, your results. But this is just a little bit of guidance to be able to help you. If you would like to breathe, this is a place to breathe, but perhaps you're a swimmer or you're really trained at taking nice deep breaths and you could chant the whole phrase with no breaths whatsoever. So feel free to do that if you like. Okay, so this is just a little bit of guidance. So now let's do it a fourth time where I won't actually guide you with the breath. We're just all going to do it together without any kind of guidance. Okay, so if you'd like to do that, feel free to join in. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava. ภูตังมหาเกวันหังอภิวาเตมิสวากขาโตมหาเขวตาธัมโมธัมมังนามัสสามิสุปฏิปันโนมหาเขวโตสาวกสังโฆสังฆังนามามิ Okay, good job. Yay. Sounding good. All right. Sounding pretty good. Any questions on this one? Anything you guys would like to ask questions about? Okay, I'm not seeing any questions. All right. So let's go on to the next one. This one is actually quite simple, I think. If you're a Thai child growing up in Thailand, and you start mouthing a few words, this is like one of the first things they start teaching you. I've seen little kids that are like 1.5 years, 2 years old, able to actually chant this. They're just starting to mouth a few words, and they're able to actually chant this. So if you're having challenges to learn all the chants, you might just decide to focus on this one and then learn some of the others, because the sounds that are in this one show up in some of the other chants. Some people say, no, it's easy just for them to learn all 3 at the same time. So go for it, learn all 3. But if you're having any challenges, one of the things I did is I just chanted this for like a week or 2. I just did this one continuously. And then I moved to the Arahang Sama Sambuddhasa, the triple gem, and then I did the third one. So I'll do the same 4 things. I'm going to go through it once myself. Once I'll guide and show you where the breath is. The third time we'll do it together and I'll guide you. And then the 4th time we'll just do it without guidance. So this is how this one sounds. นะโมอะระหะสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมอะระหะสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมอะระหะสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะ Okay, so just the same phrase 3 times, right? And there's no bowing on this one, so it's just 3 phrases, very straightforward. So here's where the breaths are. I take that nice deep breath coming in from the last chant when I've bowed, and now with that deep breath, Na mô a ra sa pa ka wa to. There's a little breath here. Arahato samma sambuddhassa. And now there's a deep breath here. Namo rasa bhagavato. Breath. Arahato samma sambuddhassa. Nice deep breath here. Namo rasa bhagavato. Breath. Arahato samma sambuddhassa. And then I'll take a nice deep breath here, leading into the next chant. Okay? So now we can do it a third time where I'll guide you guys through it, okay? This one's pretty straightforward. So if you'd like to take a nice deep breath here, you can. Namo rasa bhagavato. Breath. Arahato samma sambuddhassa. Breath. Namo rasa bhagavato. Breath. Arahato samma sambuddhassa. Breath. Namo rasa bhagavato. Breath. Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Okay, so that's the Namo Tassa. There might be another name for it, but that's what I call it. Namo Tassa. Okay. You guys would like to hear a little Buddhist joke? You like to hear a joke? So my wife is Thai, and her sister is Thai, of course. Well, her sister at one point had a baby, and that baby she named Namun. Namun is the water that the monks will sprinkle when they're getting ready to chant. They will start sprinkling the water. Well, then about 5 or 6 years later, she got pregnant again. And this was like, oops, we didn't know we were going to get pregnant. And she got pregnant. And she told my sister, or she told my wife, she said, hey, sister, I'm pregnant. I'm going to have a baby. I didn't realize I was going to have a baby. You know, it's kind of like a oopsie. And my wife was like, what are you going to name it? She's like, well, it's a boy. I'm going to name it Not Mo. And my wife said, well, sister, if you're not careful, you're going to get Tassa, Pakawato, Arahato, Sambuddhassa. You better be careful. You're going to get a whole bunch of them. So there's a little Buddhist joke for you. Because first the blessed water comes out, and then the Namo Tassa, right? Okay. All right. Our sister passed away, actually. She passed away when she was quite young. She had breast cancer. Yeah. So Natmo actually never really got to spend time with his mom because he was so young when she passed away. Oh, you guys are all sad now. It's impermanence. It happens, right? We all born, we have to die. Okay, so the Namo Tassa. So now let's do it without any kind of guidance whatsoever. Okay? You guys have already done it, right? Am I understanding? We did the third 3 times, right? Okay, this is our 4th time. Okay, so now we'll do it without guidance. Okay, you ready? Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Okay, that's the second one. Really easy, right? Very straightforward. You guys are getting it. You're in a class with all women. They usually chant more beautiful than men. They have a really good sound, right? So you're going to get to be able to learn, get some nice example. Okay, so now we'll move on to the next one. The next one, this is the last one actually. I refer to it as the ETP-SO, but again, there's probably another name for it that people use. I found this one to be more challenging because as you see, the syllables are quite a lot, but some people say it's easier for them, right? That's impermanence. Some people find it more challenging. Some people find it more easy. So I'll chant it again. I'll chant it, the first time, then I'll go through it just like we did the others. So here's how this one sounds. Iti piso mahakawa arahang samma sambuddho vichacharanang sammuno sakato rokavito Anutero purisa Dhamma sati satatawa manusanang Bhutto bhagavati. Okay, so you guys are probably starting to hear the pauses, and you're probably starting to figure out where the breath is, right? So I'll show you guys where the breath is, but you might be figuring that out on your own. So the way that it works is you take that nice deep breath coming in off the last chant, and it goes Iti piso emakawa. And then there's a nice little breath here. Arahang Samma Sambuddho. And then you can take a deep breath here. Vichacharanang Sambuddho. Little breath here. Sakato Rokavito. Nice deep breath here. Anutero Purisa. Breath here. Dhamma Sati Satatawa Manusanang. Little breath here. Poto Bhagavati. So here you'll hear me kind of drag it out, and I kind of do a bow at the end. If you're chanting with Thai people, oftentimes they just end it. They say Bhagavati. They would just stop it. But I think it sounds nice to drag it out, so I just drag it out. Everybody does chanting a little bit different. There's not just one fixed way that everybody chants. Even from temple to temple, not just region to region like Sri Lanka and Thailand, do they have differences? But even temple to temple, you'll hear differences in the chanting because of impermanence. You have a question? Would you mind getting a mic here? Yeah, then the people online will be able to hear you.
Check. Okay.
You want to start beatboxing for us?
I noticed that when I'm following along and trying to memorize the words, that in some areas it will be like a p, like a clear P, and in other areas it's more lax, or it sounds more like an M or something. So I'm just trying to sort out how to learn this, given that it's not always how it looks on the paper.
Yeah, this is something that people have pointed out to me recently, because I started using this microphone about a year ago, and I noticed that the chanting, I changed it a little bit because of the p. It's so loud that I started modifying without even realizing it, right? So like right here where I say Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava, this is actually Bhagava, but because of the mic, I think I started making it softer so I didn't pop people's ears so much. And people say that sounds like more like a M sound. But it really is a Bhagavato. But you might hear me say a little bit more of an M to kind of soften the mic. And it's only been in the last year that that's been occurring. So if you see it as a pa, it is a Bhagavato. Here too. Sawakato Bhagavata. It is a PH. So you can do it the way it is on the paper. Yep. Sorry about that. It's just with the microphone. Maybe you should get like a cover or something to have like the pop filters, they call it, so the microphone doesn't pop. Okay. So you guys would like to try this one? We'll do it with guidance. Okay. So let's try this one. All right. So here you take a nice deep breath. Iti piso bhagava. Here's a breath. Arahang Samma Sambuddho. Breath. Vichacharanang Sambuddho. Little breath. Sakato Rokavito. Nice deep breath here. Anutero Purisa. Breath. Dhamma Sati Satatawa Manusanang. Breath. Poto Bhagavati. Okay, so now we can do it without guidance. We'll just run through it. Okay, so here we go. You guys need a drink? Anybody need a little drink? No? Okay. All right, here we go. Iti piso bhagava Arahang Samma Sambuddho Vichacharanang Sambuddho Sakhato Rokavitu Anutero Purisa Dhamma Sati Satatawa Manusanam Bhutto Bhagavati. Okay, that's a challenging one. Good job. Good job. All right. All right. Any questions on this one? Anything you guys would like to ask? Okay. Here's what I propose. I say we go through all three. No guidance, no nothing. Start from the top. What do you guys think? Game? Okay. Let's do it. I'll flip the slides, or you can hold those things. The way that some people like to hold those, just... You guys don't have to do this, but just to give you a little guidance, some people, they like to hold it like this when they're chanting because it helps them, but it's up to you if you would like to do that or not. Just to give you a little bit of idea of what you could do, what the possibilities are. Okay, so let's do all three. No pausing, no guidance, no nothing. Okay. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Mahakava Bhutang Mahakavanhang Aphivateyami Savakhato Mahakavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipano Mahakavato Savaka Sangho Sanghang Namami Namo Rasa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Rasa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Rasa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Iti piso Mahakava Arahang Samma Sambuddho Vichacharanang Sambuddho Sakhato Rokavitu Anutero Purisa Dhamma Sati Satatawa Manusanam Bhutto Bhagavati. All right, that's our chanting. How you guys feel? Feel okay? Yeah? Okay. All right. Well, normally what I suggest at this point is that we to maybe take a little 5-minute break if you guys need to stretch your legs or use the bathroom or something. And then we come back and we do the chanting and then go into meditation. I'll guide you guys into meditation and we'll come out with the meditation. If you guys don't need a break, we can just go right into meditation. But if you guys would like to take a little 5 minutes, stretch your legs or get a glass of water or something, we can do that. What do you guys would like to do? Break or no break? Break? Okay. No break? Oh, you saying no break or break? No break? Anybody need a break at all? No? Nobody needs a break? Okay, well, let's just go right into it. Okay, so we'll do the chanting, and then it's just like what we just did. We'll just go all the way through. And then once we go into meditation, I'll give you the guidance, and then there'll be a period of time it'll just be quiet. We'll just be meditating together, and then we'll come out with the chanting. So when you hear me come in with the chanting, you can come in with the chanting as well. Okay? You have a question?
So I noticed that the energy changed after we chanted.
Things become more still, right? Your mind becomes more still. You call that energy, but it's really just the mind is becoming more calm, more tranquil. It's slowing the mind down, like what I talked about. And that makes it feel like the energy has changed, when in reality, it's your mind that has changed, because everything you're experiencing is coming through the mind. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And not only is your mind more calm, but everybody else's mind is more calm too, right? More relaxed. Okay. So let's go with the chants, and then I'll come in with the guidance for the meditation. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Mahakeva Potang Mahakavanang Apivateyami Savakato Mahakavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipano Mahakavato Savaka Sankho Sanghang Namami Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Iti piso Mahakava Arahang Samma Sambuddho Vichacharanang Sammuno Sakato Rokavito Anutero Purisa Dhamma Sati Satatawa Manusana Poto Bhagavati. Okay, with the lower body and hands and arms comfortable, and the upper body erect, just close the eyes and start breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Here you're just looking to establish the breath. A nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. Not forced or controlled. Just a gradual inhale through the nose, experiencing the full breath. And then, whenever you're ready, exhale out through the nose. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. Your breath may not match up with the guidance that I'm providing, and that's okay. This is your practice. I'm just here for guidance. You can use this voice as a reminder that whenever you get to the next inhale, breathe in gradually through the nose, developing a nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. And then, whenever you're ready, exhale out through the nose, experiencing the full breath. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. With the breath well established, start fixating the mind on the breath. Either the sound of the breath coming into the nose, or the sensation of air moving over the skin into the nose. The breath is the present moment. Fixate the mind on the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. With the mind fixated on the breath, whenever you notice that it moves off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. No need to observe the thought, label it, judge it, analyze it, or even try to figure out where it's coming from. Whenever you notice that the mind is moved off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. I'm going to be quiet now and let you do this work of focusing on the breath, cutting off and letting go anytime the mind moves off the breath. You have nowhere to go. There's nothing to do. No one needs you right now. This is your time to focus on the breath. Breathing in and out. สัมมาสัมพุทโธภะคะวาโอตังมหาควันหังอภิวาเทมิสวากขาโตมหาควตาธัมโมธัมมังนามัสสามิสุปฏิปันโนมหาควโตสาวกสังโฆสังฆังนามามินะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะอิติปิโสมะคะวะอะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธวิชาจารณังสัมมุโนสัคขะโตโรกาวิตุอนุเตโรปุริสาธัมมาสติสัตตาตาวามนุสนังพุทโธภะคะวะติ You guys did it. Yay. Some temples do that at the end of their chanting. They'll all clap. All right. How do you guys feel? You guys doing all right? Yeah? Okay. You can see the Buddhist teachings work, right? You're independently verifying it. So we're going to be meditating twice a day like this, each day, in the morning and in the afternoon. What you're ultimately going to hear me talk about tomorrow is how it would be wise for you to build your meditation practice up to 2 or 3 sessions per day for 30 minutes or more. It's going to take you time to build up to that. Some people take 6 months, a year, even 2 years to build up to that. But what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be gradually expanding the amount of time that we're meditating for without you guys even necessarily realizing it. We're just going to be meditating for longer and longer periods of time each time we're meditating together. And we're going to only be doing 2 here in the morning and the afternoon, but there's no reason why you wouldn't be able to do 1 in the evening too. So if you'd like to really start integrating the teachings into your life, so maybe this evening before you go to sleep, you could do a meditation if you like. And then you'll see this week of what it's like to be meditating 2 or 3 times a day. You'll see the impact that it has to your mind. If you're going to meditate this evening, what I would suggest is you do it before you get sleepy, right? Like if you go to bed at 10 o'clock typically, you would like to be probably meditating around 9:15, something like that. It doesn't mean you can't meditate at 5 or 6, because you surely can, but you would like to do it while your mind's still attentive and alert. If you're already sleepy, it's kind of too late to be meditating at that point. It doesn't mean you can't meditate then too. It's just that your mind's not as attentive and it's not as alert. Because what you're going to hear me talk about tomorrow is that meditation is a dedicated, active, purposeful training session. So you would like your mind to be attentive and alert while you're meditating. So you like to back it up a little bit before you get sleepy to actually do your meditation. So if you like to incorporate this into your life, this is one of the ways for you to start doing it, is start integrating it in the evenings outside of class. Okay, tomorrow what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with chanting and meditation. Then we're going to be learning the Eightfold Path. This is the path to enlightenment. I'm going to be spending the entire morning on this. It's going to take about 2.5 hours to teach it. And we'll take a break in between, of course. But this is a very deep, very central teaching, a very core teaching of the Buddha. And I'm going to use the original words of the Buddha, and I'm going to show you how to learn, how to reflect, independently verify, and how to practice. If you're interested in getting to enlightenment, this is the teaching that you need to know, with all the other connected teachings as well, but this is the core central teaching. When we talk about developing a life practice, this is the life practice, the Eightfold Path. So this is like the core central thing that you're going to be learning as part of your journey to enlightenment as part of this course. And then in the afternoon, when we come back from our lunch, then we're going to be learning meditation. So we're going to be doing meditation one more time tomorrow morning, but then I'm going to be teaching you all the ins and outs of meditation tomorrow so that your practice can be fully informed and you can see some of the words of the Buddha on meditation. I'm going to share with you guys some of the things that he talked about in terms of meditation. So enjoy your evening, whatever you might decide to do, and perhaps I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a very lovely and wonderful rest of your day. Sawadee Kap. Sawadee Kap.